Угу. Так, вроде пошло. Пошло. Угу. Ссылочка. Так. Так, сюда скидываем ссылочку. Так, здесь есть приглашение. Сейчас приглашу всех, кого можно, и мы начнем. Так, надеюсь, меня хорошо слышно. Так, мы с вами начнем вот отсюда. Сейчас я сама тоже подключусь, посмотрю, как вообще все видно будет. Угу, отлично, вижу, что все видно. Угу. Вроде все хорошо слышно. Угу, отлично. Так, ну что, поехали тогда, друзья. Это все будет оставаться в записи. Именно поэтому сейчас еще Инстаграм сделаю. Это все останется в записи, поэтому я не буду ждать подключения. Мы сразу с вами начнем. Начнем с того, что прежде всего, так как это будет первый лайвстрим, который будет сохранен, это значит, что я быстренько, вкратце расскажу, как мы вообще будем практиковаться каждую субботу, что мы будем вообще делать, и потом мы сразу начнем практиковаться. Значит, наши лайвстримы будут включать в себя практические уроки, то есть здесь мы будем практиковаться, и я, кстати, я обещала вести уроки на английском, так что я потихонечку перехожу на английский, окей. So, hi everybody. Today we will have the practice lesson, Ielts speaking practice lesson. And I'm trying to leave the link on Instagram for people who wants to join us and who wants to practice their Ielts and who may be preparing for Ielts, who is going to pass Ielts exam soon, everyone who wants to do it the first time. Okay. Ielts live stream. All right. Okay, Instagram is ready. So let's start. Let's start our practice lesson. Today we're gonna do practice lesson for IELTS speaking, and first month we will do practice speaking. We will work on your IELTS listening. So that's why, 1 second, I need just to clarify that everything is working. Okay, now we can start. First of all, I would like to introduce you the IELTS listening part. Overall, IELTS exam include 4 sections. It's IELTS listening. It would be the first section, and during the IELTS listening, you need to listen to there are 4 sections. If you have a look at the screen, you can see that part 1, here's part 1. In part 1, usually there are 10 questions. 10 questions, and there are the most easiest questions, and we will practice it, and you will see why they are easiest and how to answer these questions. Then have a look at the part 2. In part 2, you will usually see multiple choice questions, and you can see there, and sometimes these type of questions when you need to have a look at these numbers. There are questions from 16 till 20, and you need to choose correct letter A, B, C, D, E, and etc. So you need to put here the correct letter. Then you can see part 3, and in the part 3 you can see the multiple choice again. So you need to listen to people. Sometimes you can on part, it's part 3, so you can hear the most common situation here is when there are two students, for example, discussing some project, or there are two lecturers and they are discussing something. So you will listen to them, and according to their speech you need to choose correct answer. Then there would be the most the part 3 will end on question number 3, and the most difficult part would be part 4. For some people there is the most difficult part, but for me I wouldn't say that this one is the most difficult one. And so we will do this listening today, and I will try to give you some tips how to do this listening part. So it depends what IELTS you will choose. For example, there are two types of IELTS exam. There are IELTS General, if you didn't know, and IELTS Academic. Academic IELTS is for applying to the university. General IELTS is mostly for for immigrating to like English-speaking country, or maybe in some companies there is a request for IELTS General. But for applying to the university, to Nazarbayev University or any other universities in the world, you need to pass IELTS Academic. And another type of IELTS is IELTS paper-based and IELTS computer-based. So paper-based, it's when you are getting papers with answer sheets, like here, like this one, but in paper version. And you just need to use your pencil and these sheets with the questions, and during listening you are writing using pencils. And there is another version which is computer-based. So you will have the questions on computer, and you need to type your answers. I have passed and listening, I have passed paper-based and computer-based. I wouldn't say that they are completely different. No, it depends on your skills actually. So the score always depends on your skills. And one important thing I have noticed that as wide your vocabulary is, as better your IELTS score will be. So if you have, let's say, pre-intermediate or intermediate level of English, you will pass IELTS on 6.0 or maybe 6.5 if you will prepare well. But if you will improve your academic vocabulary, if you will expand your academic vocabulary, you will be able to pass IELTS on maybe 7 or even higher band score. So for applying to the university, the required band score is usually 6.0. In some universities, you can find a required number which is 6.0 or 6.5. So that's why it's very important to, if you want to pass IELTS exam on 6.5 and above, you need to widen your vocabulary. There are several tips. I'm not talking now about IELTS listening because we will do this practice soon, but I would like to involve you into the IELTS exam process. So there are several tips how to expand your vocabulary and make it more advanced. The first thing is when you are listening like, let's say, TED Talks. You can listen to the TED Talks programs. You can watch news in English. You can listen anything. Even if you're watching movies in English, your English level would be like better each time, because every time when you're listening to something, when you will listen to any new vocabulary, you will look if this vocabulary is repeatable. You will be like, you will be more comfortable if you will know the meaning of some particular words, and you will look for these words, then you will remember them. It's tips for IELTS listening. And another tip for not just for listening and speaking, but for reading and writing. That's very important to read a lot. And about reading, I will talk to you in some lessons, let's say in 3 or 4 lessons. It means that we will do reading practices, and I will give you some tips and tricks how to improve your reading. I will be honest with you, reading is my weakest part, and even for me, it's still lots of hard working needs to be done, because I practice a lot, and now I know lots of things, how to make the band score higher, as higher as it possible. But anyway, I still have so much work to do in order to improve my IELTS score. So that's why I will be practicing and reading and writing a lot. So I have created this community, this Telegram chat, and this YouTube channel for practicing together. If we have, like, for let's say, if all of us have the same goal to apply to the university, or to improve English, or find the international company to work, it's much better to do all together than just alone. So that's why I have created all these things, and I'm very, like, with pleasure having these lessons. So let's start doing practice listening for today. IELTS listening practice. Now we're gonna start doing IELTS listening practice. What we're gonna do, you need to take a piece of paper, and you need to write down on this piece of paper numbers from 1 till 40. From 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and till 40. It would be your answer sheet. And if you are able, if you have the opportunity to print these pages, you can find this book in Telegram chat, which is in the description box below. Join to this chat. There in the chat you can find the Cambridge IELTS 18. You can download this book, and if you have opportunity to print it, please print, because each Saturday we will be practicing each section. Today we are doing listening. Next time we again will do listening, and we will do 4 practice tests from this book. Then we will start practice reading. Then we will each reading, we will do reading, and then we will start doing writing. I will share with you some tips how to make good writing, and then, of course, speaking. Now we're gonna start doing listening. So first of all, it would be perfect if you will be able to do these practices by yourself first, and then during our lessons you will check your answers. I mean, you will check why some answers was wrong, and that's it. So let's start. So first of all, you will the first thing is you will listen to the audio track. You will listen to the speech, and while the like, it's not examiner, but while in the recording, you will listen to the words like, now explanation of the exam, of IELTS listening exam. While you have this couple minutes, you need to have a chance, you need to take this time, and you need to read all the questions very carefully. I mean, first of all, you need to have a look at the task. One word and a number for each answer. So you need to have a look. Transport survey. So you need to imagine the questions would be about transport. There would be something about maybe buses, public transport, bikes, or something like that. So you need to imagine what the dialogue would be about. And mostly in the part one, they're mostly dialogues, because there is a dialogues, and most of the dialogues are about personal information, address, age, surnames, names, and any other preferences, people's preferences. If it's about transport survey, that it means that someone will be asking the questions about somebody's transport preferences, let's say. So first of all, you are having a couple minutes to read all the questions, and you need to read it carefully, very attentively. You need to read like name, Sadie Jones, year of birth, 1991, postcode. Here you should be very careful. Postcode, it's usually some numbers and letters, so you need to be very carefully here. Traveling by bus. So now it means that one person will be asking the questions about traveling by bus to another person, and another person will be answer on some of the questions according to the traveling by bus. So date of bus journey, it would be the date here. You need to listen to very carefully, and you need to listen to the date, right? Season for trips. So you can see here shopping and visit to the not season, reason for trips. So why the person went somewhere. So the first reason would be shopping, and another reason would be visit to the someone. The person is going to visit someone, or was going to visit to someone. Traveled by bus because cost of something too high. The person is traveled by bus because cost of traveling on another type of transport was very high. Something was very high. So you need to listen to what was very high priced. Got on bus at, so here would be the name of the street. You need to listen to the name of the street. Complaints about bus service. Like for example, bus today was maybe it was crowded, maybe it was late, maybe, so you need to guess or predict. So the tip number one in successful IELTS listening test is to be able to predict the answers. You need to predict what word would be here. I mean, you need to predict would it be, let's say, noun, or maybe it would be the verb, or any other type. Okay, so you can, guys, actually you can write questions here in the chat if you need. If you have some questions, you can read the questions, and in the end of this stream, I will answer all these questions, all right? So the next, let's have a look what would be the next complaints about service. So frequency of buses in the, so here would be the word that you need to predict again. Frequency, do you know what frequency means, right? If you don't know some particular words, you just need to write all the words down on your copybook, and when you will write all unfamiliar words and then translate them and then to remember them, you will expand your vocabulary. It would help you to improve your IELTS score. So the next, traveling by car. So it means that the person will ask questions about traveling by car. Goes to the something by car, somewhere. I guess it would be the place. The person goes to the work, maybe to the school or somewhere by car. Guys, if it's not hard for you, please can you type something in the chat, because I need to make sure that you are able to type questions in the chat. Okay, The next, traveling by bicycle. Or if you will write who is joining to our lessons today, your names, it would be great. If you will write your names in the chat, it would be great, okay? So the next, traveling by bicycle. Bicycle. So here you need to imagine the questions and situations connected or regarding to the bicycle. Dislikes traveling by bicycles in the city center because of something. So the person doesn't like traveling by bicycle to the city center. Why? What might be in the city center? Oh, thank you. Good. Thank you, Solia. All right. So the person doesn't like traveling by bicycle in the city center because of some reasons. Try to predict why reason might be. Why wouldn't you go to the city center by bicycle? Maybe because it's very like busy roads, right, or something. The last question would be, doesn't own a bicycle because of lack of something. Why wouldn't I buy the bicycle for owning? Like, I wouldn't buy a bicycle, but because I don't have the space where to storage it. Like, I don't have place to put it. So maybe there are another reason why a person doesn't want to have his own bicycle. Maybe in some cases actually it's easier, more comfortable to rent it, right? So let's try listening to the Ielts listening part 1. I will turn on the sound. Please don't forget, write your names in the chat. Now you need to write answers, and then you need to share your answers. I will give you the time while I will be explaining the answers. First, you will listen to the part 1. Then, where did you write numbers from 1 to 40? So now you will answer on the question from 1 to 10. After that, I will be explaining you the part 2, then you will answer to the part 2, and then when we will finish all the Ielts listening, we will discuss your questions. I will share with you with answers, and then I will explain where was this answer, all right? So let's start. Don't forget to put your names, please, in the chat. And then don't forget to write your answers in the chat. By this way, I will see that you are doing this practice with me, all right? So let's start listening. Okay. Here is the listening. By the way, the listening is in our Telegram chat. I'm sharing with everything on the Telegram chat. It's here. I have prepared everything last time, so now. So, if you're ready, answer on first 10 questions. Then we will discuss them.
Ielts 18, published by Cambridge University Press and Assessment, 2023. This recording is copyright. Test 1. This is the Ielts listening test. You will hear a number of different recordings, and you will have to answer questions on what you hear. There will be time for you to read the instructions and questions, and you will have a chance to check your work. All the recordings will be played once only. The test is in 4 parts. At the end of the test, you will be given 10 minutes to transfer your answers to an answer sheet.
So can you hear, right? You can listen to this explanation. While he's explaining everything, you are having a time to read all the answers, all the questions here.
Now turn to part 1. Part 1. You will hear an interview with a woman who is doing a survey on transport. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 5.
You have time. Look at questions from 1 to 5.
Now listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 5.
Excuse me, would you mind if I asked you some questions? We're doing a survey on transport.
Yes, that's okay.
First of all, can I take your name?
Yes, it's Sadie Jones.
Thanks very much. And could I have your date of birth? Just the year will do, actually. Is that all right?
Yes, that's fine. It's 1991.
So, next, your postcode, please.
It's DW30 7YZ.
Great, thanks. Is that in Wells?
No, it's actually in Harborne. Wells isn't far from there, though.
I really like that area. My grandmother lived there when I was a kid.
Yes, it is nice.
Right, so now I want to ask you some questions about how you travelled here today. Did you use public transport?
Yes, I came by bus.
Okay, and that was today. It's the 24th of April, isn't it?
Isn't it the 25th? No, actually, you're right.
And what was the reason for your trip today? I can see you've got some shopping with you.
Yes, I did some shopping, but the main reason I came here was to go to the dentist.
That's not much fun. Hope it was nothing serious.
No, it was just a checkup. It's fine.
Good. Do you normally travel by bus into the city centre?
Yes, I stopped driving in ages ago because parking was so difficult to find, and it costs so much.
I see.
The bus is much more convenient too. It only takes about 30 minutes.
That's good. So where did you start your journey?
At the bus stop on Claxby Street.
Is that CLAXBY?
That's right.
Before
It was first 5 questions, right? Write down all the 5 questions and send on the chat what did you answer. And now you will listen to the end, to the rest of the dialogue, and you need to answer on other questions.
hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 6 to 10.
So you are giving the time. Now you need to write about complaints, traveling by car and traveling by bike.
Now listen and answer questions 6 to 10.
And how satisfied with the service are you? Do you have any complaints?
Well, as I said, it's very convenient and quick when it's on time. But this morning it was late. Only about 10 minutes, but still.
Yes, I understand that's annoying. And what about the timetable? Do you have any comments about that?
I suppose I mainly use the bus during the day, but any time I've been in town in the evening, for dinner or at the cinema, I've noticed you have to wait a long time for a bus. There aren't that many.
Okay, thanks. So now I'd like to ask you about your car use.
Well, I have got a car, but I don't use it that often. Mainly just to go to the supermarket. But that's about it, really. My husband uses it at the weekends to go to the golf club.
And what about a bicycle?
I don't actually have one at the moment.
What about the city bikes you can rent? Do you ever use those?
No, I'm not keen on cycling there because of all the pollution. But I would like to get a bike. It would be good to use it to get to work.
So, why haven't you got one now?
Well, I live in a flat on the second floor, and it doesn't have any storage. So we'd have to leave it in the hall outside the flat.
I see. Okay, well, I think that's all we need for.
So here is the end of part 1 of the listening. Now I would like you to discuss the answers for this part. First of all, I would like to have a look. Did you write anything? Your answers, please write your answers, and then we will check. Write your answer. Oh my God, my voice. All right. So Leah is working so hard. Good. Just so Leah is working, but that's fine. Maybe someone will be watching the recording of this lesson and will practice as well. So, Leah, you are having the first question is correct. Good. 24th, dentist, parking, clocks. B, good. But don't forget, on the real exam, you need to write the name of the street or something with a capital letter, okay? Then, late evening. Good. Supermarket pollution. But you need to write just one word or a number. Your answer is air pollution. Air pollution is 2 words, right? 2 words, and it would be the mistake. Can you imagine? You have written air pollution. The correct answer is pollution. But in case you will write air pollution, you will reduce your band score. It wouldn't be the correct answer because of the word air. So it means you didn't notice and you didn't read the task carefully. It means, so you wrote air pollution and it would be a mistake. Although pollution is a correct word, okay? And the last storage, so everything is correct except air pollution. So next time be careful and write just pollution, 1 word. Or you can write 1 word and number, or just number, but not 2 words. It's very important. It would be very, unpleasant to get a mistake just because not writing 1 word. All right, now we are going to do the next part, and moreover, I would like to explain you why these words, why did you write, why the answers should be this, maybe I can write here. Answers, no, I can't. All right, if you need, please write everything in a chat. Any questions you will have, anything, all right? And next time I will take into account all your desires, wishes, and I will try to do, each time I will try to do this live stream better and better, as much comfortable for you as it possible. So the next part, let's go to the next part. Here you will have questions from 11 to 20, right? 10 questions. Each part will have 10 questions. If you want to have as high a band score, it means that on the easiest section 1, you have to number all the answers correct. Because if you will have 30 correct answers, it would be 7 or 7. Yeah, 7. 33, it would be 7.5, if I'm not mistaken. We will see in the end. So let's continue. While you will have a couple minutes, by the way, that's very, very important thing. Then you are giving a minute to check your answers. But don't do that. You don't need to check your answers. Why? Because you are not listening anything. Again, it would be the waste of time. It's very important to spend this time on reading the next section. It means that 1 minute for checking your previous answers, you don't need to check. It means that you have 1 minute for reading the next section, and then you are given 1 minute to reading your new questions in section 2. And please read these questions, and you will be more comfortable to answer them. So let's have a look at these questions. Second. Let's read these questions. Let's read these questions. Why does the speaker apologize about the seats? So here I usually one speaker. Usually it might be the lecturer, or it might be the administrator, or somebody else who introducing you with something. So here, becoming a volunteer for ACE. It means ACE, I suppose it might be the company, and becoming a volunteer is about something volunteer work, about maybe charity, about some kind of work. And so you need to imagine what the explanation would be about. So number 11, why does the speaker apologize about seats? Maybe, why do usually people apologize about seats? Maybe it's not enough space for everyone, right? Maybe they are not convenient enough for everyone. So let's have a look at the options. They are too small. Seats might be too small, all right? Or they are not enough of them. There are not enough of seats for everyone. Or some of them are very close together. Some of them are very close together. They are very close together. It might be very crowded in an area. The next, what does the speaker say about the age of volunteers? What does the speaker say about the age of volunteers? So they are taking volunteers, right? And he will say something about the age. The age of volunteers is less important than other factors, so it's not important. The next, young volunteers are less reliable than olders, so it's more comfortable to work with young volunteers than the older volunteers. We don't know, but they will talk. They will discuss all these options, but you need to listen carefully and choose just one of them. So that's why you need, like, IELTS exam, something about, they are trying to mess you. They are trying to provide all the options in their speech, but just one of the options would be correct. Question number 13. What does the speaker say about training? What does the speaker say about training? It is continuous, it is conducted by a manager, and it takes place online. So there is a training, maybe how to become a volunteer, how to work, and so on. So maybe the training is continuous, or it's conducted. Somebody will take the trainings, like will lead the trainings, and would be the manager, or it takes place online. So maybe the trainings are online. And the next, question number 14 and 15. It means you need to choose two options, 14 and 15. Read very carefully. Here, which two issues? So if you will have the paper-based, you need to underline the keywords, issues in this case. Which two issues that the speaker asks the audience to consider before they apply to be volunteers? So here's two issues, right? And the speaker asks the audience to consider before they apply, so they need to do something before applying to become a volunteer. Their financial situation, their level of commitment, their work experience, their ambition, or their ability. So there are two issues that speaker asks the audience to consider before they apply to be a volunteer, right? You need to choose here two letters. Okay, let's listen to this part and then I guess we will check. Maybe we will re-listen something and then I'll try to explain you all the answers and then we will go further. Let's start.
Yes, that's okay.
First of all, can I take your name?
Yes, it's Sadie Jones.
Thanks very much. And
Listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 5.
It's
Excuse-
first section. 1 second. Oh my gosh. Okay.
But way on.
You should answer the questions as you listen, because you will not.
It's not this one. They're so different from each other.
Test 1.
So difficult to find. And it costs.
Organization called ACE. First, you have some time. You now have 1 minute to check your answers to part 1.
It's about part 1, right? You have 1 minute. You're not using this minute for checking answers. So here is given 1 minute. You need to check. You need to use this minute for reading the next question. Why did the speaker apologize? First, you need to read questions. It would be easier for you. First, you need to read just questions. Why do speaker apologize? What does the speaker say about the age of volunteers? What does the speaker say about the training? Okay. The next, what 2 issues does the speaker ask the audience to consider before they apply? If you have time, you are reading the questions and options. Okay. So long, 1 minute. Now let's read options again. What does the speaker apologize about the seats? They are too small. There are not enough space.
Part 2. You will hear a woman speaking to a group of people who are interested in becoming volunteers for an organization called ACE. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 15.
You are having minute, right? Read. So here is a plenty of time if you're using time correctly. You will have enough time. Don't forget to write anything on the chat, but while you're working, you don't need to write. Just work. Be very attentive.
Now listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 15.
Good evening, everyone. Let me start by welcoming you all to this talk and thanking you for taking the time to consider joining ACE Voluntary Organisation. ACE offers support to people and services in the local area, and we're now looking for more volunteers to help us do this. By the way, I hope you're all comfortable. We have brought in extra seats so that no one has to stand, but it does mean that the people at the back of the room may be a bit squashed.
Did you hear that? Squashed. On the back of the of the room, on the back of the room, there are additional seats. That's why people might be a bit squashed, but there are enough. She said that we borrowed seats and there is enough seats for everyone, but on the back they might be a bit squashed.
You'll only be here for about half an hour, so hopefully that's okay. One of the first questions we're often asked is how old you need to be to volunteer. Well, you can be as young as 16 or you can be 60 or over. It all depends on what type of voluntary work you want to do. Other considerations, such as reliability, are crucial in voluntary work, and age isn't related to these in our experience. Another question we get asked relates to training. Well, there's plenty of that, and it's all face to face. What's more, training doesn't end when you start working for us. It takes place before, during, and after periods of work. Often, it's run by other experienced volunteers, as managers tend to prefer to get on with other things. Now, I would ask you to consider a couple of important issues before you decide to apply for voluntary work. We don't worry about why you want to be a volunteer. People have many different reasons that range from getting work experience to just doing something they've always wanted to do. But it is critical that you have enough hours in the day for whatever role we agree is suitable for you. If being a volunteer becomes stressful, then it's best not to do it at all. You may think that your income is important, but we don't ask about that. It's up to you to decide if you can work without earning money. What we value is dedication. Some of our most loyal volunteers earn very little themselves, but still give their full energy to the work they do with us.
This is the end of this part. So please write the answers into the chat, and I will be happy to check your answers at the end, okay? Because if I will go to check your answers, I will miss this point in the audio track. So here, I will see. I hope that you could answer all these questions, but question number 11. What was the answer on number 11? The answer was, okay, let's listen and then I will show you how to explain you the answer.
Is how old you need to be.
So first I have explained already, right? About the seats.
Part 2. You will hear a woman speaking to a group of people.
Now I will explain.
Now listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 15.
So now, lesson 11, I will pause and then explain you the correct answer.
Good evening, everyone. Let me start by welcoming you all to this talk and thanking you for taking the time to consider joining ACE Voluntary Organisation. ACE offers support to people and services in the local area, and we're now looking for more volunteers to help us do this. By the way, I hope you're all comfortable. We have brought in extra seats so that no one has to stand, but it does mean that the people at the back of the room may be a bit squashed.
So she said we have enough seats. We have enough seats, right? So she didn't say anything. You need to exclude answers. She didn't say anything about size. Small, big, nothing. So it's not. A, not. B, there are not enough of them. She said that we have plenty of seats. We have enough seats. But we have borrowed some additional seats, and maybe on the back of the room there might be a little bit squashed, right? Lots of people, and some of them are very close together. So the correct answer is on the question 11 is C. This is the correct answer.
Only be here for about half an hour, so hopefully.
So she said we will be half an hour, so hopefully you will be okay for this time, right? Then next, what did the speaker say about the age of the volunteers? What did she say? Is age important? So here's the answers, right? The age of volunteers is less important than other factors, less important. The next, young volunteers are less reliable than older ones. Which one more reliable? The next, most volunteers are about 60 years old. So she said something about 60 years old. Listen carefully.
That's okay. One of the first questions we're often asked is how old you need to be to volunteer. Well, you can be as young as 16 or you can be 60 or over. It all depends on what type of voluntary work you want to do. Other considerations, such as reliability, are crucial in voluntary work. And
so age is not important. You might be under 60 or over 60, right? Crucial is reliability.
Age isn't related to these in our experience.
So age isn't related. Age isn't related to the reliability. It doesn't depend. Age doesn't depend. So it means the correct answer is A. The age of volunteers is less important than other factors, okay? The next, what does the speaker say about training?
Another question we get asked relates to training. Well, there's plenty of that, and it's all face to face. What's more, training doesn't end when you start working for us. It takes place before, during, and after periods of work.
So it takes place before, during, and after you started working, right? It means it continuous process. So training is continuous process. It doesn't start at a particular date. It started before, continue, during, and after.
Often it's run by other experienced volunteers, as managers tend to prefer to get on with other things. Now, I would ask you to consider a couple of important issues before you decide to apply for voluntary work. We don't worry about why you want to be a volunteer. People have many different reasons that range from getting work experience to just doing something they've always wanted to do.
So we don't care why. So we don't ask why. So it means that she said about maybe for working experience or this is something that they are wanted to do. They don't care. They don't ask about that. So C and D you can exclude. C, their working experience, you can exclude, right? And D, ambitions, you also can exclude it. The next.
But it is critical that you have enough hours in the day for whatever role we agree is suitable for you.
It's critical that you have enough hours. Enough hours, it's usually about availability. If you have, it's critical, it's important that you have enough hours for working, for being volunteer, right? Enough hours is about availability, that you are available. It means that E, the first answer is E.
If being a volunteer becomes stressful, then it's best not to do it at all. You may think that your income is important, but we don't ask about that.
You may think that your income is important, income, right? Like payment or like the number of money. You may think, but it's not important for us, she said. You may think that it's important, but it's not. So A is excluded. Their financial situation, not important.
It's up to you to decide if you can work without earning money. What we value is dedication.
Dedication. Dedication is a synonym of commitment, involvement, how much the person is dedicated into the process, right? If he doesn't care, no, they don't need this type of volunteers. They need dedicated volunteers whose attitude is very involved into the process. Like if you're helping someone, it's very important to help with all of your level of dedication. Not just do and not to do then like this way. I hope you understood, right? Dedication, what does it mean?
Some of our most loyal volunteers earn very little themselves, but still give their full energy to the work they do with us.
Still, they do all energy in the work they do with us. So B. So it means that correct answers is B and E. It doesn't matter in what order, okay? Then let's continue. Here is a tip number 1 in this type of question. Very important thing in this type of question is to what you need to read here first. You don't need to read these words. Don't read these words. Fundraising, letter collection, you don't need to read it. Why? Because you will listen to that in this order. You will listen to this word. You will listen them in this order. It means you don't need to spend your time on reading these words. What do you need to spend on time on is to read the options. That's very important. Helpful things volunteers might offer. What helpful things that volunteers might offer? What they can offer, right? First, and then the options. It means that the person will he will name the options that things that volunteer might offer for different sections, like fundraising, litter collection, right? What thing they can offer for litter collection, for playmats, for story club, and first aid. And it means that you don't need to read this. You need to read very carefully options. For example, experience on stage, original new ideas, parenting skills, an understanding of food and diet, retail experience, a good memory, and good level of fitness. Okay, let's start listening.
Before you hear the rest of the talk, you have some time to look at questions 16 to 20.
Read options.
Now listen and answer questions 16 to 20.
Okay, so let's take a look at some of the work areas that we need volunteers for and the sort of things that would help you in those. You may wish simply to help us raise money. If you have the creativity to come up with an imaginative or novel way of fundraising, we'd be delighted, as standing in the local streets or shops with a collection box can be rather boring. One outdoor activity that we need volunteers for is litter collection. And for this, it's useful if you can walk for long periods, sometimes uphill. Some of our regular collectors are quite elderly, but very active and keen to protect the environment. If you enjoy working with children, we have 3 vacancies for what are called playmates. These volunteers help children learn about staying healthy through a range of out-of-school activities. You don't need to have children yourself, but it's good if you know something about nutrition and can give clear instructions. If that doesn't appeal to you, maybe you would be interested in helping out at our story club for disabled children, especially if you have done some acting. We put on 3 performances a year based on books they have read, and we're always looking for support with the theatrical side of this. The last area I'll mention today is first aid. Volunteers who join this group can end up teaching others in vulnerable groups who may be at risk of injury. Initially, though, your priority will be to take in a lot of information and not forget any important steps or details. Right, so does anyone have any questions for me?
Right, so does anyone have any questions for me? All right, Here, I will not explain all the answers. I will check, all right? I will check your dedication first. And then maybe on the next lesson, I will see. In case you need the explanation on each question here, I will explain you all the questions, each separately questions. That's very important to analyze and to listen, to have the ability to listen and hear every particular things. Now we will go to the section 3. Actually, for me, is the most difficult part, because usually here is two speakers and they are speaking, discussing something, and it's the most difficult to understand, even more difficult than the section 4, part 4, the last one. But let's have a look how it would be for you. Don't forget to write, comment everything, be involved, please. As much involved you will be, as much commitment you will be, as best your let's say your band score will be at the end, right? So please be involved. Commitment, it will help you to improve your English. It will help you to improve your IELTS score, all right? Take every opportunity to practice and then be as much involved as it possible. So let's continue. Now you will hear part 3 and you need to answer. I will not explain nothing, just listen.
That is the end of part 2. You now have 30 seconds to check your answers to part 2.
Now, you need to check answers? No, of course. You don't need to check answers. You need to read carefully section 3, because here's much to read. You first read questions. What problem did Chantal have to start off his talk? What were Hugo and Chantal surprised to hear about the job market?
Part 3. You will hear 2 students called Hugo and Chantal discussing a talk they have just attended at the start of their course in fashion design. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 26.
Hugo and Chantal agreed. The speaker's message was, what do the Hugo and Chantal criticize about their school careers advice? When discussing their future, Hugo and Chantal disagree on how does Hugo feel about being an unpaid assistant. Then, if you have time, read again with options.
Now listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 26.
Hi, Chantal. What did you think of the talk then?
Hi, Hugo. I thought it was good once I'd moved seats.
Oh, were the people beside you chatting or something?
It wasn't that. I went early so that I'd get a seat and not have to stand. But then this guy sat right in front of me and he was so tall.
It's hard to see through people's heads, isn't it?
Impossible. Anyway, to answer your question, I thought it was really interesting, especially what the speaker said about the job market.
Me too. I mean, we know we're going into a really competitive field, so it's obvious that we may struggle to get work.
That's right. And we know we can't all have that dream job.
Yeah, but it looks like there's a whole range of areas of work that we hadn't even thought of, like fashion journalism, for instance.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting so many career options.
Overall, she had quite a strong message, didn't she?
She did. She kept saying things like, I know you all think this, but... And then she'd tell us how it really is.
Perhaps she thinks students are a bit narrow-minded about the industry.
It was a bit harsh, though. We know it's a tough industry.
Yeah, and we're only first years after all. We've got a lot to learn.
Exactly. Do you think our secondary school education should have been more career-focused?
Well, we had numerous talks on careers, which was good, but none of them were very inspiring. They could have asked more people like today's speaker to talk to us.
I agree. We were told about lots of different careers, just when we needed to be, but not by the experts who really know stuff.
So, did today's talk influence your thoughts on what career you'd like to take up in the future?
Well, I promised myself that I'd go through this course and keep an open mind till the end.
But I think it's better to pick an area of the industry now and then aim to get better and better at it.
Well, I think we'll just have to differ on that issue.
One thing's for certain, though. From what she said, we'll be unpaid assistants in the industry for quite a long time. I'm prepared for that. Aren't you?
Actually, I'm not going to accept that view.
Really? But she knows it's the case, and everyone else says the same.
That doesn't mean it has to be true for me.
Okay. Well, I hope you're right. Before
Here, I suppose that it was much harder than in previous task, but next lesson on next Saturday, I will explain each answer. I will explain you how to do it. Okay, let's try to do. Let's try. We have time until 12:30. Each Saturday we will have hour and a half. So each lesson would be hour and a half. So it means that in hour and a half I will explain you all the things that I think needs to be explained, right? And every listening section, every listening lesson, we will practice it and you will get the explanation. Okay, let's start again. Listen to question number 21 and I will pause in the end of their speech when they will stop talking about the question number 21 and I will explain you, right, the answer, correct answer.
Now listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 26.
Hi, Chantal. What did you think of the talk then?
Hi, Hugo. I thought it was good once I'd moved seats.
Oh, were the people beside you chatting or something?
It wasn't that. I went early so that I'd get a seat and not have to stand. But then this guy sat right in front of me and he was so tall.
It's hard to see through people's heads, isn't it?
Yeah.
Impossible.
Okay, so here they talked about the problem that Chantal faced, and what was the problem? Her view of speaker was blocked. Exactly, this was the problem because she said, Hugo said, somebody was talking, right? Somebody was chatting. She said, no, I came earlier. And the tall guy sat in front of her, and that's why. And then in the end, he said, it's difficult to see through people's hats. Difficult to see anything through people's hats because they are not transparent, right? And it was the problem. So the answer A is correct. The next, listen to where were Hugo and Chantal surprised to hear about the job market. Okay.
Wait, to answer your question, I thought it was really interesting, especially what the speaker said about the job market.
Me too. We know we're going into a really competitive field, so it's obvious that we may struggle to get work.
That's right. And we know we can't all have that dream job.
Yeah, but it looks like there's a whole range of areas of work that we hadn't even thought of, like fashion journalism, for instance.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting so.
All right. Here, what were Hugo and Chantal surprised to hear about the job market? First, A, it has become more competitive than it used to be. Was there anything about becoming more competitive? No, right? The next, there is more variety in a job market. There is more variety than they had realized. So they didn't realize that there are so much options in the job market, and they were talking about that. So B is correct answer here. The next, Hugo and Chantal agree that speaker's message was. What did speaker say? And they agree that in his message something was. Listen.
Any career options?
Overall, she had quite a strong message, didn't she?
She did. She kept saying things like, I know you all think this, but. And then she'd tell us how it really is.
Perhaps she thinks students are a bit narrow-minded about the industry.
It was a bit harsh, though. We know it's a tough industry.
Yeah, and we're only first years after all. We've got a lot to learn.
Exactly.
Here they agree about. Let's have a look at the options. Did they talk about B? Hard for them to follow. Nothing was about that, right? Critical for the industry. So what critical? No, there is nothing about criticality. It was unfair to them at times. What does it mean? They say that the speaker said something, right? And they said about narrow-minded, and they know that it's tough, right? They know that the industry is very tough. But the speaker's message was that they didn't know about that, but they know, right? It was unfair to them at times, right? Okay, so the correct answer is A. The next, what do Hugo and Chantal criticize about their school careers advice? What they don't like, listen, in the school career advice.
Do you think our secondary school education should have been more career focused?
Well, we had numerous talks on careers, which was good, but none of
We have numerous talks of careers, right? Numerous, lots of talks, right? How much advice was given? How much? So they criticize. No, listen.
them were very inspiring. They could have asked more people like today's speaker to talk to us.
I agree. We were told about lots of different careers, just when we needed to be, but not by the experts who really know stuff.
Not from the experts who really know stuff. They are giving lots of speech about careers, but this speech is not from the experts, right? So they criticize that. So C is correct answer. Who gave this advice? Like, it's not expert, so that's why they criticize. They given us so much information, so much advices, but no from this expert. So that's why the C, it would be the correct answer. The next, when discussing their future, Hugo and Chantal disagree on something. Listen.
So, did today's talk influence your thoughts on what career you'd like to take up in the future?
Well, I promised myself that I'd go through this course and keep an open mind till the end.
But I think it's better to pick an area of the industry now and then aim to get better and better at it.
Well, I think we'll just have to differ on that issue.
One thing's for certain, though. From what she said, we'll be unpaid assistants in the industry for quite a long time. I'm prepared.
Okay, here they talked what they do not disagree on. Why is it C? Why they would like career? Why? There is nothing about reason, nothing. Then A, which is the best career in fashion? They're not they're not saying which one the best career in fashion. They're not talking about that. But when to choose a career in fashion? He said that's very important to choose when to start, when to end, right? But she said I disagree with that. So B would be correct answer.
For that, aren't you?
Actually, I'm not going to accept that view.
Really? But she knows it's the case, and everyone else says the same.
That doesn't mean it has to be true for me.
Okay, well, I hope you're right.
It's about unpaid assistant, right? How does Hugo feel about unpaid assistant? He's realistic about the practice. He feels that practice is dishonest, and he thinks other wants to change the practice. So here he said that he's realistic about the practice, right? He say that unpaid assistant is okay. It's uh, it's a realistic practice. It's okay. It's fine. Should be, right? She didn't agree with him, but he is. So the correct answer here, A. I hope that you wrote your answers, and let's see, we will see a little bit later, right? Here, the next question, number 27, 28, 29, and 30. Today is our first practice lesson. That's why we are trying to take all the section. But I think that the best version would be is to divide listening on, let's say, for example, one lesson we can discuss section 2, another lesson we can discuss section 3, because it takes a long time, right, to practice. And I don't want you to be tired. I want you to be fresh, and sometimes I don't want you to take like so long hours. That's why it's very important you to be fresh. But today is our first lesson, and it's our first lesson, yeah. So the next, which 2 mistakes did the speaker admit she made in her first job? It means that you need to choose two letters, 2 mistakes. And the next, 29 and 30, which 2 pieces of retail information do Hugo and Chantal agree about the useful? So you will be given time to read the options. Please read the options carefully and then listen to the dialogue.
Before you hear the rest of the discussion, you have some time to look at questions 27 to 30. Now listen and answer questions 27 to 30.
I thought the speaker's account of her first job was fascinating.
Yeah, she admitted she was lucky to get work being a personal dresser for a musician. She didn't even apply for the job, and there she was getting paid to choose all his clothes.
It must have felt amazing. Though she said all she was looking for back then was experience, not financial reward.
And then he was so mean, telling her she was more interested in her own appearance than his.
But she did realise he was right about that, which really made me think. I'm always considering my own clothes, but now I can see you should be focusing on your client.
She obviously regretted losing the job.
Well, as she said, she should have hidden her negative feelings about him, but she didn't.
It was really brave the way she picked herself up and took that job in retail. Fancy working in a shop after that?
Yeah, well, she recommended we all do it at some point. I guess, as a designer, you'd get to find out some useful information, like how big or small the average shopper is.
I think that's an issue for manufacturers, not designers. However, it would be useful to know if there's a gap in the market, you know? An item that no one's stocking, but that consumers are looking for.
Yeah, people don't give up searching. They also take things back to the store if they aren't right.
Yeah. Imagine you worked in an expensive shop and you found out the garments sold there were being returned because they fell apart in the wash.
Yeah, it would be good to know that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay, here again 2 answers, and you need to pick 2 answers. I will tell you the correct answers. You can check, but the explanation will be on the next lesson, okay? Because that's very important for me to explain you, to have enough time for explanation, and we still have section 4 here. 27 and 28. The correct answer would be B and E. Paying attention. So two mistakes did speaker admit she made in her first job? They were talking about paying attention, too much attention to her, like to how she looked, right? And E, openly disliking her clients. So they say that it would be better to concentrate on your clients, not on your own appearance. So the E. And question number 29 and 30. Here, the correct answer would be A and C. First, the reason people return fashion items. And the last one, C, the fashion designs people won't buy, can't find. Fashion designs people won't buy, but can't find. Here are correct answers. So the explanation will be on the next lesson, okay? First one lesson we will take part 1 and part 2. Another lesson we will take part 3 and part 4. Anyway, I would like you still finish your listening, and that's why you will have time to first read, then answer, and then I will give you answers, correct answers. Listen.
That is the end of part 3. You now have 30 seconds to check your answers to part 3.
Do not check. Go and read the next section. Here you should be very careful reading this section. Reasons for overpopulation at Majet National Park, problems caused by elephant overpopulation, the transilization process, advantages of transilization at Nikotokala
Part 4.
Park.
You will hear a zoology student giving a presentation on the process of moving wild elephants to a new reserve, known as translocation. First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40.
So as you noticed before, I first read these highlighted sections. Then you just need to very quickly run here. Then problem caused by elephant overpopulation, damage to something in the park. Something was damaged. The next, the translocation process. The suitable group of elephants from the same was selected, or very park staff made use of then go there. This process had to be completed quickly to reduce something. Elephants had to return on their something. Elephants something had to be monitored constantly. That includes the size of the task and something. And here, advantages, something, opportunities, detection number.
Now listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40.
For my presentation today, I want to tell you about how groups of elephants have been moved and settled in new reserves. This is known as translocation and has been carried out in Malawi in Africa in recent years. The reason this is being done is because of overpopulation of elephants in some areas. Overpopulation is a good problem to have, and not one we tend to hear about very often. In Malawi's Majeti National Park, the elephant population had been wiped out by poachers, who killed the elephants for their ivory. But in 2003, the park was restocked and effective law enforcement was introduced. Since then, not a single elephant has been poached. In this safe environment, the elephant population boomed. Breeding went so well that there were more elephants than the park could support. This led to a number of problems. Firstly, there was more competition for food, which meant that some elephants were suffering from hunger. As there was a limit to the amount of food in the national park, some elephants began looking further afield. Elephants were routinely knocking down fences around the park, which then had to be repaired at a significant cost. To solve this problem,
the decision was made to move dozens of elephants from Majete National Park to Nkottakota Wildlife Park, where there were no elephants. But, obviously, attempting to move significant numbers of elephants to a new home 300 kilometers away is quite a challenge.
He stopped.
So, how did this translocation process work in practice? Elephants were moved in groups of between 8 and 20, all belonging to one family. Because relationships are very important to elephants, they all had to be moved at the same time. A team of vets and park rangers flew over the park in helicopters and targeted a group, which were rounded up and directed to a designated open plain. The vets then used darts to immobilize the elephants. This was a tricky maneuver, as they not only had to select the right dose of tranquilizer for different-sized elephants, but they had to dart the elephants as they were running around. This also had to be done as quickly as possible, so as to minimize the stress caused. As soon as the elephants began to flop onto the ground, the team moved in to take care of them. To avoid the risk of suffocation, the team had to make sure none of the elephants were lying on their chests, because their lungs could be crushed in this position. So, all the elephants had to be placed on their sides. One person stayed with each elephant while they waited for the vets to do checks. It was very important to keep an eye on their breathing. If there were fewer than 6 breaths per minute, the elephant would need urgent medical attention. Collars were fitted to the matriarch in each group so their movements could be tracked in their new home. Measurements were taken of each elephant's tusks. Elephants with large tusks would be at greater risk from poachers, and also of their feet. The elephants were then taken to a recovery area before being loaded onto trucks and transported to their new home. The elephants translocated to Nkottakota settled in very well, and the project has generally been accepted to have been a huge success, and not just for the elephants. Employment prospects have improved enormously, contributing to rising living standards for the whole community. Poaching is no longer an issue, as former poachers are able to find more reliable sources of income. In fact, many of them volunteered to give up their weapons, as they were no longer of any use to them. More than 24 elephants have been born at Nkottakota since relocation. With an area of more than 1,800 square kilometers, there's plenty of space for the elephant population to continue to grow. Their presence is also helping to rebalance Nkottakota damaged ecosystem and providing a sustainable conservation model which could be replicated in other parks. All this has been a big draw for tourism, which contributes 5 times more than the illegal wildlife trade to GDP. And this is mainly because of the elephants.
All right. So here is the end of section 4. I'm afraid that we will not have time to discuss discuss the answers on section 3 and section 4, but we will do it on the next lesson, because next lesson we still have listening, and we will have listening several times, and it will help to improve your listening skills, right? Wow, So Leah, you're so good. You answered all the question. Very good. That's very interesting for me to check your answers. And you have written answers from 1 till 20. That's good. That's good. I will send you the answers into the chat. All right, into the Telegram chat. You can compare. And there is a book again. If you want, you can listen it one more time. And on the next lesson, we will do in the same book, in the book Cambridge Child 18, we will do listening test 2. But we will do section 1 and section 2 quickly without explanation the answers. But section 3 and section 4 we will discuss, right? I will pay your attention on the section that you need to notice. Please write in the box what section was the most difficult for you, why, and analyze what was the most difficult section for you, why it was the most difficult. Maybe you don't have enough time to read the questions and answers and options, so that's very important. Okay, by doing this practice over and over again, your IELTS listening will be improving. The same we will do for reading and for writing and for speaking as well. For speaking will be the great opportunity. Maybe we will have lessons in Zoom for your practicing. Okay, we will do very interesting exercise. So please, if you have friends who are interested in IELTS practicing, if they don't have opportunities to pay for tutors, please invite them to the group, share with the link of the chat. That's very we were very welcome, and ask questions if there were some questions that were difficult for you. We will discuss, ask questions, and maybe you can suggest anything, give advices. How would you like it to be? What would you like? How do you see this practice? How the most useful practice, and so on, everything. I'm very, very welcome to your ideas. Okay, so here at the end of our today IELTS listening section, we will end our today's listening lesson again. Thank you so much for joining. Please be more active as you can. It's very important. I will save, so this stream will be saved, and I will share the link. So if you need, please watch it again and work. Okay, so thank you for the lesson. Thank you so much for joining this lesson, and thank you for working with me. Please write. Oh, thanks so much. Don't miss the lessons, okay? Try to join every time, and you will improve your IELTS overall score, I'm sure. So thank you so much again. Please write anything that you would like to suggest. I'm very welcome to your ideas, and see you next Saturday. I hope that maybe at 10 or 11 again as today. So thank you so much. Bye bye.